talking about women, since we are talking about their area of pain in this case mostly, coming to workforce, when it comes to women, I've seen that again, taking a very close example, I do have a few women leaders in my family, and of course your friend circles, you do have them. I've seen women constantly negating their own
situation,
sense of leadership, in the sense that, like I was just telling him as well that, in Lean In, the book that was written by Sheryl Sandberg, the CEO of Facebook. So she had given this very beautiful example of, when a man is to be promoted versus a woman in the workforce, the man would be looked at for his potential, while the woman would be looked at for her past experience. How does she basically fare? And what happens is, women would, as far as raising their hands in the class, you'd see more of men. They are intelligent, great, that's a great company to have, but sometimes they're not even that amazing, but they always have this air of, you'll see in classes, while women, even if they might know the right answer, they would refrain from raising their hands. They would be absolutely plagued with self-doubt. So I've seen this across. I know, again, we are, if we talk about the macro sense, it is really, you transcend gender, right? There is no man, woman, nar, nari, nothing like that. But the whole point is that if you're talking like, ek pukta baat kare, if we're talking the level of, when I see everyday women around me, so I see across, whether they are young women, middle-aged women, whether they are elderly women, they would keep denying their own sense of ownership. At the same time, they have this fear of being called, tagged as, bossy, if they are able to maybe express themselves forthrightly or in a very, outright fashion. So again, I do understand the source you would come back to is,
there are two aspects to it.
Yeah.
We must address both of them. One aspect is, she is not allowed to. The other aspect is, she thinks she does not need to raise her hand. And both these are within her mind, and both these have entered her mind from somewhere. Not allowed to is obvious. The second one is subtle, and we probably may begin with this and find deeper inside. The way we train our girls, and even before we train our girls, the way Prakriti, physical nature, mother nature, not spiritual nature, physical nature, the way our bodies are constituted, configured, the way our hormones are. There are so many species in which the female is not the provider. Even in human beings, if you see, it's a bare fact, we must accept it. It may or may not conform to the popular ideologies currently in vogue, but facts are facts. No? So the way the female is configured, biologically, she is supposed to be all right with spending a lot of time in the nest.
Supposed to.
Supposed to be, biologically. Not by way of consciousness, but by way of the body. This indicates a movement out of the nest. Do you see this? The girl is comfortably sitting in the classroom, and the body is the nest. What does this indicate?
I want to break out of the nest.
I want to break out of the nest. The teacher asks something and I am saying, I know, or I want to ask, I want to inquire. Now, both knowledge and inquiry are not things of the body. They are things of the consciousness. Body wants neither knowledge and the body does not want to inquire. Even if the body seeks knowledge, all it wants knowledge of is things that are related to physical sustenance, right? The body, for example, will have very little interest in stuff like history or science. Yes, if somebody says, I have 2 slices of pizza, who wants it? Then the body will raise its hand. But if somebody is dealing with something else, then the body is not interested. Now the girl is born, and that's the way her body is already configured. And then how do we raise her and what do we teach her? Are we teaching her the way of consciousness or are we teaching her the way of the body? And you are teaching her the way of the body. Now how is it surprising that she does not want to participate much in the process of knowledge or inquiry? I have this little one at home and happened to visit the shopping mall with him and clothes were being bought. So I noticed that even at that age, girls' apparels, little clothes, very this size, they were probably twice or thrice as expensive.
Oh yes,
as that of little boys.
Yeah.
That totally.
What is the philosophy behind that?
The philosophy behind that is that you are a girl and you must spend more of your resources towards your body. Money is a resource, right?
Yes.
So the boy can save the money for the books. The boy can save the money for the books. But you listen, you girl, if you have got 2,000 bucks, all of that 2,000 must go towards the dress. Now the boy can happily have the dress in 600 bucks and with the remaining 1,400 he can buy books or toys or something else, maybe a ticket to the museum, maybe a ticket to the adventure show or to the library. The girl is supposed to invest herself fully in her looks and her body and her cosmetics and all those things. Now that's the way the entire dispensation is raising her, right? And the same girl who was in that merchandise shop the previous evening goes to school the next morning and there she does not raise her hand. How do we find it surprising? That's an instance, it has to be taken in the due spirit. If we want to counter it, it's very easy to counter it. I expect some empathy when these examples are being rolled out, because one would make sense of them only if there is a certain listening. So these things are happening, even right now, nothing personal here, but I am wearing something close to black. You are wearing pink.
Pink. That's true.
I
can't help it that pink is a color that attracts me. I am very attracted, like I really appreciate darker colors, but for serene moments I do choose lighter colors. But then again, why not purple,
colors,
right?
Colors are just colors. I mean, they are wavelengths, right? But the fact is that firstly, pink is the color of the nest. Pink is the color of the newborn baby. Right. So Prakriti is already pushing you towards pink. And then what is the entire commercial dispensation doing? It's bombarding you with pink. You want to buy clothes. Half of the choices are just in pink, the other half in red, then the remaining ones in maybe white. Then remaining 10%, if you are very particular about diversity, you will get in other colors. So that's what is happening with the girls all the time. And you have to remember in all this that boys and girls are not born alike. We are born differently, and it is the responsibility of our parents and educators to rid us of our body identification. The girl should be raised to be less of a girl, the boy has to be raised to be less of a boy.
Beautiful.
But instead of that happening, the girl is raised to become more of a girl and the boy becomes more of a boy. And in this, we must firstly acknowledge that equality is a very puerile myth. Girls and boys are different.
Okay.
But that difference, that inborn, that innate difference has to be very wisely, very creatively sublimated, dissolved, not amplified. We amplify that. We amplify that. So, what does the woman become? The woman becomes a hyper woman, the man becomes a hyper man.
Profound.
And then both of these exploit each other. So, in some sense, then the girl says, I do not need to raise my hand, because what will I do with knowledge? My role is to be the one in the nest. My role is to make the bed and lay the eggs and bring up the kids. What will I do with Newton's laws?
Yeah, and they're so guilty when they are in the workforce. They are so torn. They are so guilty when they are giving their 5,000% here and they have a baby, probably just, vying for attention, and they have that, completely overpowering their entire work ethic, actually.
You know the scary part here? Even that baby came out of a conditional obligation. When I say conditional, I mean something arising out of your conditioning.
Yes, absolutely.
You are conditioned to have a baby. Conditioned by the two forces. Physical, the body cries out for the baby, and much more than physical, social. Voices around you are constantly reminding you, reminding is a soft word, pushing you.
Oh, yes.
Pushing you to have a baby.
Like, I came back to my hometown after I don't know how many years, because I have always been away, and no matter where I go, Tauji's place, Mausaji's place, everywhere, beta shadi kab karoge, beta, and it was the hottest topic. और पूरा खानदान ऐसे मुझे घेर कर बैठ जाएं.
When you have no right purpose in your life, all that you have in your life is sex. If you are 65 now and you cannot physically ingratiate yourself with sex, then you want to intrude into the sexual lives of others, younger ones. So what do? You keep poking your nose in the matters of others. You keep asking others about their private matters and sexual lives. Otherwise, what does one mature adult have to do with these very, very personal decisions of another mature adult?
Absolutely.
Even asking for certain things, seeking certain information is trespassing.
It is, absolutely.
It is simply a violation. It's an infringement, and it's not civil at all. It's not civil. So if we are cultured people, there are certain questions we would never ask. But we are not cultured. We are driven by conditioning. That's the difference between conditioning and culture, by the
Absolutely.
way. Culture is the force that reduces the stranglehold of conditioning on the person. So, but we are not cultured. We are just conditioned.
Absolutely.
Even in the name of culture, what we get is conditioning. So that's what people are doing all the time, and that's.
And it's so weird, because I tell them, you don't even know who I am, in the sense like who I am at my core.
Correct.
You don't know me.
They
Like,
do not know their own
who
core.
are you?
Yeah, they do not know their own core. How will they know your core? And also, again, just to complete the story, the way we have narrated it so far, it appears that only the women are victims. The story is a bit different. Now you are indoctrinating the girl into that kind of a role. You stay in the nest and you
Be
look pretty
pretty.
and you raise the kids and all those things. She suffers, right? Because no person, male or female, is born to do that. She suffers. And then she would take the suffering out on the nearest person possible, and that person would either be the kids or the spouse. So it's not as if a man exploiting a woman would be in a happy space, not at all. The woman is as much of a person as a man is, and this person would avenge herself in ways direct or indirect, and that's going to happen. One of the ways of avenging herself is, now that you didn't allow me to be properly educated, you fetch me the money.
Oh, yes.
And I'll burn the money. You were the one
Yeah.
who restricted me to the house.
The revenge
so fine.
life.
So fine, I'll stay in the house, but I'll burn the money. So you bring me the money, and my job will be to shop.
It hits home, Acharya ji. I've literally, you're literally.
So this binge shopping, yep. If you visit shopping malls during the weekdays, you'll hardly find any men. The men are all busy working. 80% of the crowd there is female. Now that is revenge shopping. You know. He's at the job, she's at the shop.
Absolutely. Yes.
Why didn't you allow me to be at the job?
Weekend shopping is revenge shopping.
Weekdays shopping. Weekend, the men are also pulled by the scruff into the mall.
Oh, yeah.
You come along with me.
Correct.
And carry the bags.
Yes.
But weekdays, the men are all,
Yeah,
I
outdoor.
know I am terribly generalizing, but
I understand.
hope something is coming out of it. I very well know that there are couples in which the woman is working and the man is sitting at home.
True.
All those things are
True.
there, I know. But this generalization is very deliberate, and it is to make a point. So, excuse me this generalization, but it makes some sense. So that is what is happening. You exploit someone, you cannot remain at peace after the exploitation or during the exploitation. Man exploits woman, the woman too is bound to exploit the man. It's not possible that one just plays the victim. The victim is because the victim has her own points of power. She's at the home, she controls the home, she has the kids. The kids are more affiliated to her. So there are several ways in which she can, turn a few handles. It's not good for either of them. Not good for either of them. And what's the root cause? The root cause is not man. The root cause is all pervasive spiritual ignorance, which is turning the man into a man and a woman into a woman, which is not allowing either of them to realize their conscious nature. The woman is not supposed to be a woman. You have decked her up, turned her into a doll, and now one can't even talk to her as a person. You have to talk to her as a woman. And if you talk to her as a person, the terrible thing is the woman herself gets offended. She'll say, you don't know how to talk to a woman, but I'm talking to a person.
Yeah, oh my God, yes.
I'm talking to a person. And she says, you don't know how to talk to a woman.
Amazing.
Now, what is this? If you are so steeped in your identity as a woman, how will you ever transcend yourself? Same with men. Obviously, you console a man. After a while, the man starts feeling awkward. Men are not supposed to be consoled. So he'll say, okay, fine, I'm fine. He's not fine, obviously, but he doesn't want to be seen as a weakling. So I'm fine.
So women should not proclaim, chivalry is dead, expecting the man to open the.
Obviously.
I mean, why would you just? You're just contradicting yourself, basically.
The more women demand privileges for themselves, the more they are confining themselves to their womanhood. And if they are reinforcing their womanhood so much, then they are reinforcing their own prison. So all these things, you know, reservations in buses or in trains. I mean, come on, we are grown-ups, right?
Exactly.
You look at the numbers in athletics or something. I mean, let's look at the 100-meter sprint, right? Men do it in what's the Olympic record, world record, 9.87 seconds or something. How far behind are the women? Not very far behind. So are modern, well-fed, well-bred, mature women really so physically weak that they require reserved seats in buses? That should not happen. And I'm not saying that as a man, I'm saying that as a well-wisher of all human beings. Because if you're doing that, that's bad for the woman and that's bad for the man. That's bad for everybody, right? I understand the situations in public buses. I know how people behave and all those things. We must have separate mechanisms to deal with cases of misbehavior or physical trespassing. We must have separate ways. But these things, you know, how does it honor a woman to say this seat is for the elderly, the handicapped and women? How do women enjoy being bracketed with the elderly and the handicapped? And I'm talking of sturdy, strong women. You know, I'm talking of the modern girl. Why should she partake in this nonsense?
At the same time, how do you then, Acharya ji, know that, okay, if I'm not expecting my man, you don't need to open the door for me, or you don't need to, you know, I mean, take off the seat for me. Then how do I know that we are treating each other right? Like,
you know, who are you? Before you know whether you are being treated rightly, you should know who you are. Who are you? Are you a woman? Then you would try to be treated rightly in a womanly way. In a womanly way. But if you are that suffering old consciousness we have been talking of, then you would want a man who elevates your consciousness.
Absolutely.
And the man would then seek a woman or a man or anybody, even as a friend or as a teacher or as a companion or whatever.
A barter system of.
Who helps raise and purify, refine his consciousness. You know, even if you are seeking a sexual partner, you would have some idea of, or you'd give some weightage to the fact that what is this person going to do to my mind, to my consciousness. That value system, that your consciousness is far more valuable than the fact of your body or biology. That's not been driven into us, and that will not come naturally. That has to come through education. Education provided by either the family or the institution. But
they both are doing a dismal job
of it. They both are doing a pathetic job, no doubt. So we are just, you know, hitting each other, killing each other, running amok. We are all being violent towards each other. It's not that the woman is being exploited only by the man, the woman is being exploited also by the woman. And the man is exploiting the child, the woman is exploiting the child in some other way. It's an entire network, an entire ecosystem in which all are exploiters because all are ignorant. You know? And the root cause again is the absence of real education.
So does pay parity, this debate that really, you know, gained this traction, pay parity between gender inequality and
I'm
pay
not even
parity,
talking of
like,
pay parity.
No, it just
in my organization there are women who get paid much more than men.
Depends
men
on
at
the
similar positions, men of similar age, and there are times when they don't get paid as much as the men. Now that you're saying it, it has never even occurred to me that I should look at gender before deciding on their paycheck. It depends on how well you have done, it depends on whether you have been true to your potential, it depends on so many things. One thing it doesn't depend on is your gender. See, there are certain things obviously you have to take care of. If a girl is working till late in the night, obviously given the social conditions, we will want to get her dropped back to her place. So that much the organization will ensure. Maybe if it's a male, we won't be that careful. We will say fine, pick up your vehicle and go on your own, and that's all right. Even if you have to travel up to the next city, say 40 kilometers, you will manage. So in that sense, obviously we too are partisan. We are biased towards the women when it comes to providing physical security and all. I think that's quite fair. But when it comes to assessment on how they are doing, gender is very irrelevant, and gender should be irrelevant. The scary part here is even the women want the gender to be relevant. No, that's not done.
If they're not outrightly saying it, but they're acting in a way or representing themselves in a way that shrieks from the rooftops that you are seeking that.
I'm a woman, so I deserve special consideration. You won't get it. Not at the right places. If there is a place that is giving you special consideration as a woman, rest assured that it is also exploiting you, especially as a woman. Because the way our world is, the way the system of the capital is, there are no free lunches. So if somebody is providing you certain special amenities or allowances, he would be extracting his pound of flesh somewhere at some time, rest assured. But you know, that's again a part of the training. The woman is supposed to feel that men would remain unreasonably and unduly chivalrous. They won't. They won't. And because there is this expectation drilled into her mind since the childhood, so she ends up making very, very bad career and relationship decisions. The man fully well knows how to ingratiate himself to the woman, how to make himself endearing to the woman. All those are set rules. He knows you do such a thing, this, that, and such trivial and childish stuff. You present that teddy bear, and maybe not at an advanced age, but when you are in your late teens or in your early 20s, then all those things, they work.
Yeah, like magic.
They work. So you bring this, and you pay her bills and certain things, and the woman ends up making a bad relationship decision, very bad relationship decision. And if kids sprout from that decision becomes practically irreversible. Now what will she do? First of all, you are so prone to making a bad decision because you have been badly educated. Then that decision is prone to becoming quickly irreversible. Now will the woman remain caged or not? Therefore, I have been repeatedly saying that spiritual education is doubly as important for girls as it is for boys. The boys can probably wait. Maybe they can wait to receive hard knocks from life, and maybe they can get initiated even at the age of 45. After they have gone through all the hardships and receives the blows, and then they can come and say, you know, I have led a wasted life, and now I want to know what the Upanishads and Vedanta and the saints have said. So it can begin for them at the age of 45. It cannot begin for a woman at the age of 45.
Absolutely.
If it doesn't begin for her at 15,
this is so good.
If it doesn't begin for her at 15, it will never begin. It will be so difficult, extremely difficult. In the recently allowed camp, there were two women who were sitting out of the session venue because their kids were unmanageable. Think of it.
Oh.
And One had travelled from Bangalore, the other one I don't know from where. They had spent money, they had taken out time, and they were not attending the proceedings because they had kids to manage. And it was a very precious opportunity for them to attend the Advait Mahotsav. They had been waiting for it since long, and they would have taken leaves from their workspaces, done all kinds of arrangements. I can understand, and this is what happens. So, even spiritual progress cannot happen when you have raised those kinds of liabilities. It's a bad place to be in, you know. And she'll stand in front and she'll cry and say, I know what you are saying is right. I also know what I must rightly do at this time, but what do I do with these two?
So they actually never happened to come inside?
They would have come inside, but you know, the sessions that we have, they are not of the kind where if you are doing this in-out thing,
Yeah,
you would
obviously.
still comprehend. So if you miss out, you just miss out.
You missed the train.
You are either totally in or totally out. You cannot peep in for a while and get some % of it, and that's not going to happen. So, not that it is impossible at 45 for a woman, but it's very, very difficult, much more difficult than it is for a man. Even for a man, it is very difficult.
Yeah.
Now, imagine the difficulty level for a woman.
How do you unlearn, right? Because you've accumulated so much of
So much.
garbage.
And also, once you have been indoctrinated into thinking that the man is going to be the breadwinner,
Yeah.
and your function is to again make the bed, it becomes very difficult for you to be financially independent later on. You have never earned a penny all your life. How will you start earning at 45? You know, the tragedy is there are women who were earning till the age of 28,
Oh, yes.
and then they give up on their jobs, and then at 45 they realize the wreck their lives are, and now they want to resume their careers. It's difficult. You have forgotten all the skills, technology has moved ahead, you have been left behind in all possible ways.
Absolutely.
So, you can still catch up, but obviously it's difficult. Spiritual education for girls must be supremely mandatory, and if one is parenting a girl child, one has to be so loving and so careful. It requires much more to raise an admirable girl than it requires to raise a decent boy. The role biology and society decide for these two is not at all right. Not at all right. After a while, you know, one stops feeling that one is exploited. One gets acclimatized, and one develops stakes in the status quo. So now, even if there is an opportunity to change yourself, you don't change. What's worse? Now, even if there is an opportunity to let your daughter change, you do not allow even your daughter to change.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
If a daughter is about to do something adventurous, off track, it's quite possible that the greater resistance comes not from the father but from the mother. One caged bird cannot envision another bird flying. So the cycle just continues, and
But we need to tell the girls to hold on and, you know, just build that spiritual wealth that will sail them through, right?
spiritual wealth, not the kind of ideology that we are seeing in circulation these days. The ideology that we are seeing in circulation these days is just an extension of the past. You know, the thing that says that girls should be free to make their own choices and all that. Now, why do I call it an extension of the past? In the past, choices for a girl were being made by somebody else, and that somebody else was a fool. So he was making all the wrong choices for the girl. Now today, the in thing is, let the girl decide for herself and make her own choices. And the girl herself is a fool. So you still have a fool deciding for the girl. Earlier the fool was sitting outside of the girl. Today the fool is sitting in the girl's mind. Nevertheless, it's a fool deciding for her. So it's not about who decides for you. It's much more about you being in the right and the wise position to make decisions. If you do not know how to make decisions, autonomy in decision making is just a curse. Is it not? So today we have in the current generation of teens and college going girls, a lot of this radical thing. I'll live life my own way. I'll decide for myself.
YOLO.
Yeah.
You only live once.
You only
that
live
is
once,
the,
my way or the highway, and such things. The thing is, you're still coming from the same center your grandmother was coming from. A center of ignorance.
Yes.
Your grandmother knew nothing. You too know nothing. It's just that the exploiter in the grandmother's case was a person other than the grandmother. Today the situation is actually worse because the exploiter has entered the girl's mind and is exploiting her from within, and she feels this is freedom.
Very good.
So you cannot have freedom without firstly becoming wise. Being unwise and arrogating freedom to yourself is disastrous. So there is this education in wisdom that is mandatory for every human being, and much more so for girls.